So Stop Killing Games recently got put into American Senate to pass as legislation. And you want to hear the reason why they turned it down, bro? It's going to make you so fucking mad, dude. So this is Jennifer Gibson, who is, I believe, the COO of the ESA board. She is a piece of shit. This is about... So I probably should preface this for those who don't know. This is about the Stop Killing Games initiative, which is a simple request that when developers make games, they make a exit plan. So let's say you have a live service game or an online game, like RuneScape or World of Warcraft. All the legislation proposes is that when you are done, making the game, when you don't want to update the game or keep it updated, and you want to just close the servers and be done with it, all that the legislation asks is they have an exit plan. Either a way for the game to be hosted privately from players' ends, or a way to continue to play it single player, which is not a lot to ask, right? The idea being that when you buy something, you own it, and it should not be able to be taken away. This is a very big subject at the moment, especially with Sony having said that they're going to be only using digital media, which means you will no longer own the media. Sony recently said that they're not going to be making any physical media anymore. What they're going to be doing is having only digital. The thing with Sony is that if you buy digital, you only hold the license to it. So let's say tomorrow, right, you're playing Red Dead Redemption 2 and you love Red Dead Redemption 2. Sony could wake up tomorrow and say, we're taking Red Dead 2 away from everybody. So that $100 that you spent on the game is gone. You don't get the money back unless they decide they want to give it back to you, and it's just removed. Now, you'd probably say, well, they would never do that. They would never do that. Why would they just take stuff away? Well, it's actually going to be detailed in this. Sony also licenses out movies. You can buy movies on Sony PlayStation. Very recently, Sony has taken away a bunch of movies that they no longer wanted to, have on their platform after having sold it to people. So people had movies in their library on their PlayStation. Sony removed those movies. They no longer have them. Any money that you spent to acquire the movie, gone, you're not giving it back. They took the movies away and you lose the money. They're going to keep it. There's no protections in here at all. And this legislation is aiming to at least bridge that gap for video games. And it could be used as as precedent for other forms of media, so you can't take away other forms of media. We're going to hear their arguments as to why they don't want this to pass. Jamie, just to clear it up, we're not asking for servers to stay up forever. No, and that's what I'm saying. I'm saying just leave the game in a single player playable state. That's what I've been saying the whole time. Just leave it in a state that somebody can hop on the game and play it solo. Take it completely offline, shut off all the servers. You can still play it offline. That's all people are asking. I think servers shouldn't exist of that game, but then if the servers don't exist, then disc wouldn't work. Yes, so I don't think you're understanding. Jesus Christ. What we're saying is, you see the last part, how you said when the servers are offline, the disc doesn't work? We're saying, can you please shut down the servers? That's fine. We don't want you to pay for servers. Shut the servers down, but let the disc can continue to work. Let's say Overwatch 2 goes offline, and you still want to play it with the boys in a private lobby, right? Maybe even peer-to-peer. Shit, maybe privately hosted. Shit, let's just say you want to play versus bots. The battle pass is not a mandatory part of the game. It's just not. As long as you can hop into a lobby and shoot some bots, then it's good. There is no Overwatch 2.
Now, the ability of a publisher to remotely disable a product for which a consumer has paid $60, $70, $100 or more sets a concerning precedent for our digital goods. AB 1921 really has two elements there that really seek to build some fairness in there between that user and the provider. One, that a game operator notify users 60 days before shutting down servers required to make an ordinary use of a game. This will allow them to understand that if I'm about to sign up for that license, that I might have 60 days or less to enjoy use of that product. Or two, if I've already been licensed to be able to enjoy that product, that I better make full use of it before that 60 days is up and not walk away from the game and come back later only to find all my data gone and that game shut down.
What he basically said there is that when companies plan on sunsetting a game, they provide 60 days of service leading up to the sunset. We're not asking them to extend the life of the game. We're just saying, if you do plan on closing the game up, perhaps give us 60 days of warning before you do it, you know? Has to use lawyers to stop official support. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say as well, usually most of these companies have lawyers on hand anyway. It's not like that's not part of the process. I think people who talk about wording in laws are very unaware of any legal system, and while it's not their job to have to read a single law, though civics is a basic education aspect, they should be aware that not a single law of note is perfectly worded, since every law is open to some level of interpretation to avoid abuse. And that's the idea of setting precedents. That's why when somebody abuses something, it gets taken to court to set a precedent in the future.
Now, to be clear, AB 1921 does not mandate that servers be supported forever. Instead, it asks the game operators to plan for the end of life of a game during its development if it relies on server support. I'm committed to continuing to work on the recent amendments.
That's a really concise way of putting it. Plan ahead. This is being grandfathered in. So if you're making an MMO, let's say you're an indie developer, you're planning on making an MMO, in the process of making the game, create a way that it can be played offline once they're done, right? The fact that it is really broad, in fact, I think goes again. This is designed in a way to protect the developers, in my opinion. I think for me, the interpretation of this is the broadness of it protects the developers. It's not being used as a way to scare them. I think it's being used as a way to allow them to make the decision of how they plan on continuing to make it playable.
Ensure that we strike that right balance between consumer fairness and industry feasibility. As people increasingly consume entertainment via licensed digital goods, furthering consumer protections and transparency is essential, and that's all that this bill is about.
You know what could be done? I need to open up Paint to word my thing here. Dude, why is this so big? Hello? Let's say you're the developer, right? And you make, so you're the dev, and then you plan on sunsetting that game. So the game is no longer available, right? What if there was a company right here that grabbed the game, took it under their license, the developer makes the game, they sunset the game, and then this third party says, we will continue to host the game on a private server, and we will run it as a subscription model. And part of that subscription model, let's say 20%. This number could be discussed more, but I think 20% is fine. 20% of the money made from the game that is being used in its license goes back to the developer. That way, they're continuing to still profit from a sunsetted license. That would be an interesting idea. I think that this would be a really cool idea. So that way you have this third party that says, all right, if you're going to sunset your game, we will host it for you, and there can be licenses and lawyers and contracts written up. That way the developer, the hands are off from the developer, the onus is on this group here to keep it running, and the developer still gets a kickback. It's an idea he's proposing, but not what the initiative... No, this is not what the initiative proposes. But I do think this is an interesting idea. Allowing a third party to take sunsetted games, continue to host them in a playable state until the developer feels ready to do something new with the IP. I think that'd be an interesting idea. Then the players can just subscribe to this service and they could have access to all these games.
AB 1921 would require that developers of video games make consumers whole if they pull online support for games, either by offering an online version of the game or providing customers with a refund. It used to be that when we bought a video game, we could play it forever as long as our hardware still worked. But today, more and more.
I disagree with the idea of a refund. I don't think that's pro. I don't think that part there is super pro industry. Maybe like a partial refund or store credits, depending on where you had the game. I'm not sure. Refund based on time spent. Yeah, but that would be really difficult. Like, you've got some people that play that game exclusively until time is done, right? That would be really hard to work that out. I just think that this refund, I don't know who this lady is or what she has to. She says she just supports it. I disagree with the idea of a refund. I don't think that's a good idea. I think even throwing that into the mix is,
And there's a lot of uncertainty under the law today about what happens when a company bricks devices or content. We have seen occasional regulator action on this issue. The FTC has sent warnings to Major League Baseball and Microsoft saying that people who bought digital content expected to be able to access it in perpetuity, and that turning off digital rights management, or DRM, servers could be a deceptive or unfair practice. But those were just a few...
Actually, do you want to know an argument for this? Do you want to know how pro-consumer this is? 2K. NBA 2K is one of the most predatory games I've ever seen in my entire life. I love NBA. I love 2K. I play the shit out of those games. NBA 2K still lets you play the game from 2006. If 2K can do it, then other developers can. I'm sorry. If fucking 2K, the most predatory company on planet Earth when it comes to video games, will allow you to continue playing their games after they've closed the servers, then any company should. I'm sorry, that is just... Yeah.
Formal actions, now somewhat in the past, and business practices are evolving. A lot of companies are pushing the envelope in terms of what they can get away with. Some games, especially interactive multiplayer games, are marketed as subscriptions. Those have higher ongoing operational costs for the developer, and so people generally understand that this is an ongoing transaction that will stop at some point in the future. But for other games, like single-player games, people don't expect that a company will just turn off DR.
It's important to remind people. So what she just said is if you're paying a subscription to play an online MMORPG, there is an expectation that once they stop allowing the subscription, that the game is no longer playable. That's why you continue to pay for a license to access it. You do not pay a one-time access fee. You just continue to pay. So when an MMO shuts down, it's kind of agreed upon. We know that that'll be the end of the game. We're talking specifically about single-player games.
And we are here to oppose this bill. The bill is trying to solve a problem that has not been demonstrated. It rests on...
It has been demonstrated. It has been. It absolutely has been demonstrated. I do not understand how that is an argument. We've literally... Dude, she's just lying. That's a lie. That's a... And again, dude, there are no repercussions to lying in the Senate. There, none at all. That's a literal lie. What was the game that kicked this off? It was a racing game. What was the game called? The Crew. Thank you. There was a game called The Crew that was online but could easily have been played single player offline. They didn't want to run the servers anymore, so they closed the game and made it inaccessible to all players. That is absolutely a fact. That is a literal fact. That is a observable fact. But they're counting on the fact, I just want to point this out because I really think that your egos should be hurt over this. She thinks that you are so stupid that you will not do any fact checking on this. That's how dumb that she thinks you are. She thinks you are so stupid that she can lie in Senate, bluntly lie in Senate, and get away with it. That's how stupid that she thinks you and we are. 100%. That is why she's lying. You should be upset about that. Voted yet? This is the vote right now, and I'll tell you right now, they vote against it.
Consumers who purchase a license for a video game should have access to it indefinitely. No other digital product is subject to that standard. Books, movies, music, software, and online services are not required to remain available forever, yet this bill would apply that obligation to video games. This is
She's right, by the way, but that's not a good thing. She's basically saying, well, we can take away other things, so why shouldn't we be able to take away this? She's right, but that doesn't mean it's a good thing. Now, if the developer would also like to add in peer-to-peer hosting of multiplayer games, that's their choice. But the playable part just means that the game itself is playable. Like, you can play the game. And if we're talking about The Last of Us, then we're talking about the single-player mode, not the online mode. No one's saying that anyone has to continue. Yeah. If you disagree with that, then I don't think we can see eye to eye.
Is a significant change in policy that should be seriously considered. Second, the bill assumes that publishers are routinely taking games away from consumers without notice or compensation. The examples cited in the analysis don't support the claim. In nearly every case, consumers received advance notice that online service would end, and many of these games were available for 5 to 10 years before they were sunset.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long they were available to play. If you buy something, the idea is that you should have it in perpetuity, especially if you have a physical disc, right? Especially if you have a physical disc. But it doesn't matter if you buy let's say you buy a bowl, right? Now, unless you break the bowl on the floor, the idea is the bowl would continue to work in perpetuity. You're not guaranteed 15 years usage of a bowl. You can continue to use a bowl, you know? It doesn't matter if you played a game for 10 to 15 years. If you bought it, you bought it. Okay?
This is a question of consumer satisfaction, not consumer protection. Finally, compliance options in this bill raise serious safety and legal concerns. Where compliance is impossible, this bill is going to require refunds that bear no relationship to the years of entertainment that the consumer may have received. Whether they played the game for 10 years or 20 years, we would still have to provide them a refund if we can't comply with the options. The author has said he's willing to amend.
That's a straw man argument. That's actually not part of the... I don't believe that's part of the proposal. She's focusing very strongly on the fact that if they plan on ending a game, they'd have to provide a refund. That is not true. That is not true. That is not what people are asking for. They're asking for you to either plan to have the game be single player, or if this isn't a bill, I'm not sure it is. She's a known liar. She lies all the time. They're asking you to provide a way to continue to play the game, and if you do not plan on providing a way to continue to play the game, then you apply a refund, right? It's only if you fail to provide access to the game after it's been shut down.
Moving gameplay into environments outside of publisher oversight, moderation, and security controls, which raises serious safety issues. However, continuing to require games to be provided indefinitely cannot be done without legal and safety issues. ESA has...
Again, she's lying. This is a lie. That's not what they're arguing. They're not asking them to maintain the game in perpetuity. They're just saying, make the game playable offline. That's all they're saying.
I'm confused about the legalities of being able to offer these different options, playing on different platforms. It seems very, very complicated, and just curious, is the goal to make the consumer whole? And to me, that's, I'm paying a fee. I don't get the service. I get my money back. The other pieces, I'm unclear, and it seems like...
Oh, this is the problem. These people don't understand what we're arguing. This is the problem. It's not airtight. It's broad. And at first, it's broad. But then as cases get brought up and arguments get made and precedents get set, we begin to have an understanding of what the law actually represents. That's what we're arguing. So that's when I was saying before, I'm saying the idea is that we're not trying to word it perfectly. It's meant to be open a little bit. And then when people try to abuse that fact, then we argue it in court. Like, let's say a developer, right, goes, well, I made the game playable. You can get into the menu. We would then argue in court, okay, well, getting into the menu is not playing the game, right? That would be where an argument would get set, right? And both sides can air their side of the argument. This is all it is accommodating a space where these discussions can then be had. Right now, it's dictated entirely by one side. That's a good example, thank you. Right now, one side gets the complete say. Despite the fact that we pay money for something, one side gets all of the value in the argument. We're saying, no, that shouldn't be the case. We should be allowed to argue this in court.
That there are some questions about copyright and if that's possible. So if you could clarify those two things, I'd appreciate it.
You're hitting a couple of things there. So first of all, I would say that right now there is no requirement for any refunds under law. And secondly, yes, I think the goal here of the bill is to make sure that there is some balance and some fairness here between somebody that signed up for this license.
That's an important thing. That you hear that? You hear that? There are no precedents for refunds under the law. Hear that again.
For any refunds under law. And secondly, yes, I think the goal here.
There is no requirement for any refunds. Because what this dumb fucking bitch said, so that other lady came up and said, we proposed this, but we would like refunds. That's not part of the bill. That's not part of it. Now, that could be argued if somebody tries to sunset a game without providing proper ability to play it offline or host servers or whatever is required. But she strawmanned the argument. What she did is she grabbed somebody else's argument and then used that to fight her argument. Nobody's arguing about refunds. That's not the argument. We're just simply asking that a game remain playable. And that's a fair argument. The companies can try that stuff and hope that there is no one to challenge them. So all the onus is on the consumer, not the devs. Yes. If a company said, hey, let's say Call of Duty, right? It has a campaign mode. And then Call of Duty's like, no, we're shutting this game down, but we'll let you access the menu. You could then go to court and say, accessing the menu is not playing the game. Playing the game is this part of the game, and we want at least this part. Then the courts would decide who is correct.
Had the rug pulled out from under them and really are walking away with nothing. And so whether that, what I want to do through the bill, what we've started since the get-go, is to really create that menu of options. A refund is just one option, and it needs further refinement. What we have in print already through some of the amendments right now is to recognize that, no, it's not fair to actually ask for an indefinite refund period. If I paid for something today, am I due a full refund 10 years from now after
Correct.
the game then shuts down? No, you got 10 years worth of opportunity and use out of that, and I would say as a reasonable person that that's full enjoyment.
I think that he argued this poorly. I would not have used this argument. He made the concession that getting 10 years is your worth of enjoyment. I wouldn't have made that argument. I think he gave credence to the other side where he didn't have to. It doesn't matter how much enjoyment that you got out of the game. Once you buy something, it doesn't matter. You have access to it. And you should have access to it for as long as you want. You should have access to it for as long as you want. Now, what we're arguing is how much access you should have to it. And our argument is you should just be able to play it in whatever state the developer intends for it to be playable. If it's a game like Last of Us with a single-player campaign, let us play the single-player campaign. Let's say it's a racing game. Let us race the cars offline. I got 10 years out of enjoyment of my fridge. Now the fridge company came in and took the fridge back. Dude, let's not act like anything made in the kitchen would last 10 years these days, boys. I do appreciate your opinion and I agree with you. Thank you. This is the US government that has gutted the Consumer Protection Bureau and has established new statutes and limitations to protect corpos from being... I know. This is why I'm pissed off at America. And I'm not pissed off at Americans, though certain Americans I'm pissed off at because they were the ones who put the people in power that were going to do this, because they are so poorly educated at this point that they don't even know what they're angry at. But your fucking government is so ass backwards, dude. So ass backwards. But this guy argued this poorly. I would have argued it differently. I wouldn't have given that concession.
I would say, as a reasonable person, that's full enjoyment.
Terrible argument.
If I signed up for today and it was gone in 2 weeks, well, then I kind of feel like I was really snookered and really sold a lemon there and probably deserve something back. So finding that time point, whether that's 6 months, a year, or longer, is the subject of, I think, that fine detail that we're working on, and whether or not it's from the time of purchase or the time.
It's a bad argument.
Is actually shut down is another sort of time point, another factor point that is really.
He's misrepresenting the argument. Who is this guy?
But it's the intention of what we want to do is to really.
Who's this guy, dude? This guy's arguing it terribly, bro. Who is this fucking muppet, dude? This guy's arguing this terribly. This is another problem, is the people fighting on our side are fucking morons. Can barely hear him. That's why I put the subtitles on. Is there a way to, like, boost it?
A declination of refunds so that, 50% of your way towards that time point, you'll only do a 50% refund. And then as you get closer and closer, you're getting closer.
Why is this the argument we're having? Oh! How is it gone to the point where the people arguing our case don't even understand what we're arguing? Why are you... Oh, God.
If it is possible, as it is possible right now, to be able to use community servers, I want to talk about some of the...
Why even go down that avenue? Yes, it's only one of the avenues. Why make this long-winded thing about refunds? Because now all these old people are going to be like, well, if they got 10 years of enjoyment out of it, they shouldn't be owed a refund. Now they're going to fucking completely misunderstand the argument. This is probably why it got declined. Fuck! Dude, they need young people in these fucking places to argue this shit, dude.
Conversation out there around security and copyright and other issues that are around there too, but they already exist here today. That's an option to be able to provide that platform where you no longer, as a company, as a developer, have any responsibility to maintain that, to update it, to put any more of your capital, of your investment into, a continual maintenance.
Paid to make the others look good,
but there's still some
maybe.
core content opportunity there for you to be able to enjoy. That's one option there, because then you still feel like what I signed up for, I'm getting some kind of continued benefit.
I can't hear the yelling I can't hear the subtitles with all this yelling.
For a period of time. Another option that we've enumerated as here in the options are to be able to have some kind of a downloadable version or an offline version that could be available through the company's server, but again, requires no more investment, no more continued maintenance, but allows the user to continue to be able to enjoy that. My point being, you can't save your data, you're not going to get the system updates, you're basically kind of going back to square one, but that's kind of what you signed up for, is to use the game as you invested in the first place. And
yes! Why didn't you lead with that? Why didn't you? Oh, you should have started with that.
To allow that for, some...
Dude, literally, here's what I would have said when they argued the refund. I would have said, we're not really looking at refunds right now. Maybe that's something that we could look at in the future, depending on time played. What we're arguing is, and then I would have just shifted the argument to what we're actually talking about. I would have moved on very quickly from this refund idea. This fucking bitch, Hammonds, or whatever her fucking name is, dude,
I agree with the refund. I wish the bill just...
How do I become somebody that argues this stuff? I feel like I want to be the person that's here making the argument. I feel like I can make a far more concise argument than this guy. Holy shit, dude. God damn it. They don't understand what you're talking about. You need to use, like, examples. You need to use examples of... These people annoy the shit out of me, dude. I want to hear your iconic cough to
focused on making that clear as a first step, and then maybe we come back and do other pieces. And so and we talked about this. I think I'm going to lay off the bill today, but hopefully we can get to a point where we can just be real clear about what the options are. But thank you so much for raising the issue.
Thank you. And again, I would just say the options are there to be able to provide the flexibility for the producers, and they could always choose a refund, or they could have some other options.
I think I need to study law. I think that's what I need to do. I think I need to study law. My strength is talking. I need to find a way to use it better. Lawyer Eric.
Madam Chair, if I could ask the opposition a question.
Go ahead.
If I could get clarity. In the analysis, the author gave some examples. One of them was the Concorde. It was only on for 2 weeks and it got shut down. And we're talking about the ability for a consumer to be made whole if it gets off the server so quick. In that example, if I bought a game 2 weeks later, it's no longer on. Currently, right now, can I go and get a refund?
In the example
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? What did I tell you? I told you. Now they're thinking about refunds. That's all they've got on their mind. That's all they've got on their mind now, you fucking clown. Oh, you dumb shit.
Example of Concord.
I told you all they heard was the word refund.
Sony did offer full refunds to everybody who bought that game, and they were notified in advance. The reason that game got shut down is because players...
So, psychologically speaking, you need to talk to people with words that they understand. These are US Senate members. They understand money. You need to phrase your argument in a way that they understand. You need to say to them, what if you bought this and then this happened? Like, a good example would be, let's say what if you bought an electric car and the electric car had its own onboard system? And once that system was no longer being ran by the company, your car no longer worked. All we are asking is that the company provide a way for the car to continue to work after they're done with it. Apply this to video games. We're not asking about refunds, though we would like to allow that option to remain open if the developers cannot find a way to make the consumer whole. That's the argument that they should have made.
Complained that they didn't like it. So Sony said, okay, we heard you. They issued an apology and they offered full refunds in that case. The other case in the analysis is The Crew, which was online for 10 years. So they did not offer refunds, but there was 3 to 5 month advance notice, if I recall. So notice and refunds are standard industry practices. In the analysis, there's one example.
You see how he's completely misrepresented your arguments, Zarul? Do you see how he's completely misrepresented it? He's now absolutely losing this argument. No, I could argue it in Australia, though, but you are right. No, I get what you mean. I wouldn't want to argue it I would love to argue it in America, dude. Oh my God, what I would give to be a fucking lawyer in America, dude. I would make a killing in America.
That's correct. Minecraft is currently hosted by community servers. Call of Duty community servers. So it's an option that is out there in existence here today.
They're illegal.
You hear that? It's illegal. They're claiming now that it's illegal to host private servers of Minecraft.
They're illegal, and they are not in any way affiliated with Microsoft. Microsoft, for Minecraft, has gotten a lot of criticism because of those community servers not employing the same safety standards that Microsoft does on their Minecraft servers.
So is it like the black market of video games?
Yes, in fact.
America, you have a real problem. I'm deadly serious. You have a very real problem. If you were in her shoes and you were a corpo that was trying to make consumer rights worse, she's doing a phenomenal job, actually. She's doing a really good job. She's wiping the floor. She made a straw man. She replaced the argument with a straw man. And now she's got the entire Senate agreeing with the straw man. She is done a great job. She understands that these guys don't get what they're talking about, and so she's putting it in really blunt terms. She's lying, but she's putting her lies in a blunt term.
We consider it piracy. We have lawsuits, 2 pending lawsuits against private servers right now, and the United States.
The 2 private servers they're talking about are Turtle WoW and another World of Warcraft. They're talking about private servers that are used to replace a game that exists. It's not close, the argument. The private servers that are hosted by Minecraft are allowed by the company up until a point. Oh, God. This isn't Microsoft, Scots, by the way. This isn't Microsoft. This is ESA. This is different. She's making an argument on behalf of Microsoft, who has no... Yes, correct, Sacred. Thank you. It's not Microsoft making this argument. She's arguing on the side of the corporations. The corporations are not making this argument. Obviously, Minecraft allows private servers. Their core business structure is based around the privatization of these servers because they didn't want to host them themselves. It is a symbiotic relationship that works for both the consumer and the publisher, right? Is it technically against the contract that you sign when you agree to play online? Yes, probably. But Microsoft would never try to shut these servers down because in order to access these servers, you have to buy the game. Now, the two lawsuits that she's arguing are against Turtle Wow and there's another World of Warcraft online server. They do not require you to own World of Warcraft or subscribe to it. It is a different argument. She's strawmanning. Again, she's strawmanning. Yeah, Ascension WoW, correct. Ascension WoW and Turtle WoW. She's strawmanning the argument once again. She's using the argument that because those private servers act in a different way, dude, and they're eating out of her palm. Fuck, dude. Oh, God, please get some good people in charge of this.
Thank you so much. As some member, I don't want to ask the same questions as my colleague because they're the same exact concerns and questions. My additional one would be, what can you do for the protection around, the community server aspect? We spoke about this and my concerns on that. And then I think.
So what she's saying is, what can you do to protect the license of the original holder and not allow private servers to profit? What you should say right now is, we're not asking for them to allow private servers. We simply are asking that the developer of the game allow the game to continue to be played offline. This would require no updates, no server fees. We simply ask that putting in the disc allows you to play the game in some manner. That's what you would respond with. Let's hear what he says.
This is not a requirement that community servers be used. We actually added this following the Senate Privacy Digital Technologies Committee because they wanted more options. And they said, well, hey, you have these community servers out there as a place that maybe is already in existence here today. Could that be an option for resolution rather than a refund or a downloadable or an...
Stop talking about refunds! Oh my God, they're only going to be thinking about refunds. They're going to be walking around this room going, wow, can you believe that guy wants a refund on a 10-year-old product? What an idiot. Stop talking about it. Stop bringing it up. Stop it. Drop it. Oh my God, you fool!
Offline version that somebody could play, and we said, sure, we're open to new options that make sense to be able to connect that relationship between the purchaser. But if that is something that is reaching new criticism and injecting new kind of points about safety or about violation of copyright, it's not something that needs to be in the final form of this bill. I was just responding to other senators on another committee as like an expanding menu of options here too. So that is something I certainly would be up for further conversation as well, and I do recognize that within that the narrow context of this option here. Sure, if something is out of your control and is now hosted over here by this entity right now, could that then be downloaded? Could that information then be transmuted in a way that is using somebody's...
Holy fuck. Good God. Good God. He gave them an inch. They then said, can we have a mile? He said, all right, here, have a mile. They said, can we have 3 miles? And he said, all right, here. You can have 3 more miles. And then they took 10 miles, and he goes, oh, I guess that's all right. You can take 10 miles. And then they gave them 4 light years. And then he gave them 24 light years. Dude, stop conceding. You just make yourself sound like you're weak. Private servers are an option. We would like the developers to have the final say in how they allow the game to continue to be played offline. We want the developers to have the tools that they need to allow them to answer this question in their own way. It's an assembly member. It's a pro. Fuck me.
To be able to create something else of equal likeness and everything. I guess theoretically that is a risk that is out there right now.
Why are you labeling all the reasons that it's a bad idea? You're arguing for the... Oh my God. Jay, if ever you're trying to make an argument of why something should be, never lead with all the reasons that your argument is bad. That is so stupid. If you're like, hey, can I have a bite of your sandwich? And then someone says, I don't want you to have a bite of my sandwich. And they say, well, you go, I haven't eaten in days, dude. I literally am on the verge of starvation. Can I have a bite of your sandwich? Well, what would happen if I gave you a bite of my sandwich? He goes, well, here's a list of things that could happen. I could have herpes. I could have COVID. I understand why you wouldn't want to let me have a butty sandwich, because I could have rabies. You know, I actually, dude, I could have a rare disease that no one's ever heard of that makes your dick fall off. But I still think you should let me have a butty sandwich. Holy fucking shit. When you have somebody in a Senate hearing like this that is arguing poorly, all it does is make the other side look good. You need to have somebody that is concise, stern, and about business. This fumbling upon his words, conceding arguments, and listing off reasons that it's a bad idea to engage with them is like, how did this kid go from Harvard? From Harvard, dude? Holy fuck.
If it came out of committee, what you would amend if on your own?
Yes, so there is already a commitment.
Oh, Jesus, don't ask this guy what he would amend.
And I think on some of these issues as well, to be able to continue to work on that narrowing and like really scope of duration for and sort of de-escalation of a refund period and a refund.
Oh, I cannot. What are you doing?
Actually take out as an option for the bill. Senator Small Cuevas, that would actually narrow it further as to refunds being, one of the more direct options that are available. But I've got to do that dance, right, with all y'all. So I'm willing to do that.
All
if this
y'all
is able to move forward, be able to try to be able to get
those kids
right.
to bed, Percy.
It sounds though like there
Get them
isn't
right to bed, dude.
a firm where it would land.
I would simply hit the vape, and then I'd blow rings. And everyone would be so impressed by me, they would instantly agree with me.
It sounds like conversations still happen, but there's no firm where exactly it will land.
I would say this to the world and Senator Cabaldon, who might be listening, that there is a commitment on my end to be able to work with you, to be able to have that further refinement, but I would only do so out of courtesy and with engagement with him because of our relationships and our process.
I only want to talk to this guy because he's likely to agree with me. That's not how this works. Get them to agree with you. Fuck me.
All right. First and foremost, I actually do
Go
appreciate
get some sleep,
Bill,
Devil Shadow. You're a legend, dude. Thank you for joining us.
Does game. What we've been seeing more and more is this model that has been moving to the subscription model. Originally, subscription models used to be a lot cheaper, and that is why so many people signed up. And they would also do it in a way where it was free at first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the old school
model.
Who
here remembers when Netflix was $5, dude? Does anyone else? I remember when Netflix was $5. Now it's $25, and you get ads. Oh!
Of, I'll go back and date myself. When you bought CDs,
bro,
you kept it forever.
You
right?
did,
and yes, there would maybe issues with patches and security updates and things like that. But
holy fuck! Can we just give the sole decision making to this woman? She's based, dude. Based female Senate member. Look at this guy. Who the fuck's it? This guy's shitting his pants, bro. Poopy pants.
Actually enjoyed having that and being able to own it. What we are doing in pretty much every single industry is moving into the subscription model, whether it's TV, whether it's software, whether it's video games, things like that. That I actually think is there's pros and cons to it, but
Are there pros? Is there a pro to everything being a subscription? What are the pros, dude? I don't think that I can tell if there's many pros. There's some pros for the people owning that own the original. The people who own the subscription, they are getting a whole lot of pros. They're getting 1 pro, 2 pro, 3 pro, 4 pro, 5 pro. They get a whole fat wad of pros, dude. You know what we get? We get the cons, dude. We get the cons. We get fucked in the ass by the cons.
There's pros and cons to it, but I also think that we do need to make sure that people are made whole when they are buying a particular game if it's not working out. And I do appreciate the commitment from the author to kind of narrow this. This is a space that I don't think a lot of people touch.
Correct.
And, something that, I'll be very honest with you, a lot of my colleagues probably are not gamers, right? So
I get the feeling I know where the yes vote came from, by the way. I have a feeling I know who voted yes of this group.
I know that there's a lot of gamers out there that would probably like to be made whole, or even some type of threading of the needle. So with that, would you like...
Dude, America, one of the fucking biggest problems with America is America has this problem where it's like, well, it doesn't affect me. And if it doesn't affect me, then I don't care. Not my problem, dude. Not my problem. It's, hey, those gamers should probably go outside some more.
Like to close.
Fuck,
No, I
dude.
appreciate all the conversation. I appreciate everybody for the chance to be able to dialogue ahead of this to describe, the intent of the bill and where we're at here today in committee and the finer points of what may still need to be worked on. Of course, going to appropriations and then to the floor as well. Some more steps to be able to tackle those issues.
Right, my fellow Senator Gamers is so based. I just don't want to keep owning this thing. It gets in the way. Luckily, I get paid 50% of the price. Oh, that was like Caleb Hammer going on Joe Rogan telling everyone, no, the new American dream is to rent. Ownership is so much responsibility. You don't want to own things. Owning things is gay and cringe. You don't want that, dude. Hey, let's just not do it. Let's only fucking rent things. Ownership sucks, dude. I hate owning shit. I would like the option for some... Yeah, he was on Joe Rogan, and it was the worst conversation I've ever seen. It only functioned to make me hate Caleb Hammer more. If they stop releasing physical copies, and I don't like it, but okay. As long as they can't ever remove your ability to play the game by deleting your copy of it. Yeah, no, 100%, Scott. I have no problem with digital only. It's the fact that you don't own the digital product. All right, that's the end. Okay, cool. Now they're going to talk about some other shit that I probably do care about, but not as much as this. Anyway, there it is. Minecraft private servers are illegal, and you no longer own anything, and you'll be happy about it.